All right, well, can stress make you sick? Now, there are some studies that say stress, fatigue, and burnout can trigger an autoimmune disease, and in many cases, it's a lifelong condition.
Yeah, recognizing the warning signs and setting boundaries can make an impact and prevent illness. Joining us now to talk about it is Almina Altai, the career coach and chronic illness advocate. Welcome to the show. This is a familiar story for you because you actually suffered burnout that made you sick.
Yes.
How so?
So when I was in my 20s, I was like a lot of really eager professionals, and I was working really hard. I didn't have great boundaries, was clocking those 70, 80-hour weeks, and I burned out. I developed 2 autoimmune diseases, and it happened in a very dramatic fashion where I got a call from my doctor, and she said, if you don't go to the hospital instead of going to work, you're days away from organ failure. And so that was my stop moment. I had to really sort of change my relationship to work and stress in that moment.
You hear about people having like a heart attack or something, nothing like, organ failure in that sense, but did your doctor tell you that stress was to blame?
Yeah, so this was back in 2010 before the World Health Organization referenced burnout as a real workplace condition. And so stress was part of the conversation, but my doctors were really great in helping me understand how multifactorial autoimmune disease is. So they told me there's a genetic component, an environmental component, as well as stress being part of the equation too.
And is it because there are so many different components that it took so long for doctors to diagnose you? I mean, it took, what, 7 doctors?
7 doctors, yeah. And I think that that's pretty typical. I think I read a stat that says between 8 and 10 doctors for a lot of people. And it makes sense because you wouldn't look at somebody that's in their 20s that on the outside looks pretty healthy and think autoimmune disease. And also, medical gaslighting is real, particularly for women and people of color, so our symptoms aren't always taken as seriously. And then also, I have so much compassion for medical professionals. My parents are medical professionals, but they don't always get the time to spend with their patients to really understand root cause issues. So I'm so grateful that I did find those doctors that could help me get to the root of what was happening.
We know when we talk to a lot of heart disease professionals, they say a lot of people don't recognize the signs and symptoms because they equate it to, oh, I'm just working a lot, I'm tired because I'm working a lot. Were there some signs that you overlooked that people should be aware of?
Yes, I was overlooking all the signs. So I had excessive fatigue, hair loss, joint pain, GI issues, brain fog, and all of those can be caused by so many things. So I didn't put it together or think that it was an issue until it was really an issue.
Can anyone actually be diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder?
Yeah, it's a great question. So yes, absolutely anyone can be diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. But if we look at the population of autoimmune diagnoses, 80% are women. And then there's a genetic component. So you might see genetic or autoimmune clusters in families where certain autoimmune diseases are repeated.
Once you were diagnosed, were there some lifestyle changes that you made to help yourself?
I changed my whole life bit by bit. I had to. So I first and foremost changed my relationship to nutrition. So I was diagnosed with celiac disease, so food was kind of the first place. And then I looked at movement, so I have the privilege of moving my body, so I looked at different ways to incorporate more exercise and movement into my daily life. Then meditation became a really big component, which was so wonderful. And over the last couple of years, I've incorporated nervous system work, which has really changed my life. And it's why I really bring it into my work as an executive coach, because in the coaching world, so much of the emphasis, particularly in executive coaching, is on career and leadership. But I really think we need to be examining mindset and well-being to actually thrive in our work.
What would you say are some ways to avoid burnout and potential health issues?
Yeah.
Besides what you mentioned, the mindfulness and such.
Yeah, so I think that burnout's a function of 4 things. Biology, invisible labor, visible labor, and tolerations, and I'll take you through each. So biology, those of us that produce estrogen have a higher propensity for burnout, which means we just have to go at a slightly different pace and just be conscious of that. And then there's invisible labor, which is a term that was coined by Arlene Daniels in the 80s, and it's basically the work that we do that is unseen and unpaid for, and we do it at home and in work. So at home it could look like managing the kids' schedules, doing the chores. At work it could look like volunteering to run the ERG or being the office therapist, and that can really take a toll on us if we're doing too much of it.
Okay.
Then there's visible labor, which is the work that we do that is seen and paid for, and we all probably do too much of that. And then tolerations, the things in our life that we're tolerating that we need not be, that we can raise the standard on.
Saying no.
Saying no, exactly. Setting a boundary.
It's a full sentence.
All right, well, Amina, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it.
All right, and for more career advice, you can follow Amina on Instagram. Her information is right there on your screen.